What's up, guys? It's been an absolute minute since we did our last interview. I've got a special guest on with us today. I've got Chris Brown, who I've known for a very long time. Chris, how you doing?
Very good, mate. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, man. No, thank you so much for coming on board. Just so you guys know, Chris, he runs a company that helps a lot of athletes, empowering them to achieve breakthrough results and creating a lot of leadership qualities within them as well, which is fantastic. And we're not getting paid for this. It's just something that we believe in. We think it's really important for athletes to hear. And if you've been following our social media platforms and if you've been following our brand for the last 7 years, you know that we're just trying to provide resources for student athletes to help them out, regardless of what sport they play in. And so Chris is a great person to bring on board. My relationship with Chris is we're from the same region in New Zealand. So we're from Taranaki. And my dad is a local tennis coach who used to coach Chris back in the day. You're quite a good tennis player, Chris.
Mate, back in the day, that's over 30 years ago now, or well, let's say 25. I won't age myself too much.
Yeah, no, you're one of the talented athletes. I still remember you playing in Hawera, a small town out in New Plymouth, and playing on those grass courts. And I saw in the distance someone doing Superman dives on the grass courts, and it was you. It was you running around. I was like, geez, that guy's an athlete. And I guess that's sort of the start of your journey as a professional coach and your sporting background. I'd love for the audience to know a little bit more about you, man.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Look, yeah, I mean, like tennis and rugby, obviously being a Kiwi, quite often the big part of your upbringing. And so I spent, playing both sports growing up. But then at the age of 22, I had an opportunity to go coach in South Africa. And then that led to, without going into too much detail, that led to multiple national coaching gigs with different professional and Olympic squads over the last 15 years. That's allowed me to travel the world, work with two African nations, Namibia and the Kenyan Sevens team on the World Series. And in the last 8 years, I've been based in the United States and worked with both the men's and women's Olympic campaigns. And it's definitely been an enjoyable journey and a lot to, I guess, compartmentalize. But I think there's a lot of value in the journey that I would love to be able to share with more people. So.
100%. And I think, there's some things that you can learn from a manual and from a class, when you share information with students and athletes, and there's things that you learn from experience. And as you mentioned, you've been involved in a number of different professional setups. I know you didn't want to go into too much detail, but your resume is absolutely incredible. I know you've been involved with Super Rugby teams, the Kenyan Sevens team, the USA men's team, the USA women's team, and so on. So you've been around some of the best athletes in the world. And what led you to start the company? And tell us a bit more about your company that you've started and how that can help student athletes.
Yeah, brilliant. So the theme of the coaching program or the coaching company, it's called Target Gold. Every athlete wants to be a champion. The whole theme is developing champions on and off the field. So for me, look, do I care about people getting better at breakthrough results and making more money per se? Yeah, I do, but that's not the driving force. For me, it's the impact that you make off the pitch. It's the significance that you achieve with the results that you make, that you achieve on the sports field. And so for me, over the last 15 years, but specifically since I moved to the States in 2014, a big part of the thing that's been driving me is the cultural side and the leadership development, because a lot of the athletes that I coach step into leadership roles in businesses and the schooling system, and even as they get older and older, and all spheres of influence, but also in government. So for me, what I've started to realize is a big part of my role, especially since I moved to the US and started working with those Olympic squads here, has been helping them understand who they need to become to attract the opportunities and make the difference that they can make off the back of the success that they've had in their sport. So Target Gold, the whole theme is about helping them become champions on the pitch, because that's what increases or decreases their influence based off if they're winning or not. But developing the character and the mindset to be that example for the next generation, for those around them and those that are looking up to them, so that they can actually achieve significance. Because if you're successful in a sport but you're not actually making any difference, then really you can question whether someone's actually successful at all.
100%. And I can even speak from personal experience. I know a lot of athletes that are very talented and they're very good at their craft and their sport. But some of the things that they do during their time in their sport off the field, or things that they post on social media, can affect opportunities. And if you do everything right, you can make such a great income outside of the sport that you're actually in. And I guess a great example here in New Zealand is, you got guys like Bowden Barrett, great role models for a lot of student athletes, a lot of students that want to go professional in their sport. And on the back end of that, there's a lot of brands that want to be associated with him. Is that some of the things that you get into?
Yeah, 100%, mate. It's about understanding your authentic self. Who are you actually? Why are you driven in a certain way? What's actually important to you? And then we look at, again, the part one of the actual Target Gold program is the heart of a champion. And that's where we dive into character traits and mindsets. And I look at that aspect from an individual standpoint, of the leadership part. In a team setting, it's more of a cultural, it's the culture. What's the team producing? But we dive into that, and if you don't understand who you are and your authentic self, then it's very hard to get the traction and the progress that you want to achieve. And even if you are getting results, you see a lot of these top performers, really struggling when they step away from the sport because they don't know where their value is, because really they don't know who they are, and what brings that fulfillment that they're seeking outside of competing on the sports field. And so, yeah, that's definitely a big part of the heart of a champion is first getting your image right and making sure it's aligned authentically to who you are, because there's nothing worse than trying to live a false identity in many ways, because you're just set up to fail. And you've seen that with the likes of Tiger Woods. You've seen that with a lot of individuals that are admirable in the sport and their ability in the sport, but their character off the pitch lets them down and stops them from, again, being that role model that comes with the territory of being a next level athlete.
And I guess this sort of dives into an important conversation to have, which is behavior, right? The behavior of an athlete. And as we are a college recruitment company and helping athletes get scholarships in the American college system, behavior is such an important factor. Even if you're amazing rugby player and you've got a great highlights reel, Lindenwood University are not going to take you as part of their, college program unless they see someone that's really valuable, they interview well, their character, their references all checks out. And that's like with everything, right? When you're trying to get a job in today's time. And when coaches recruit athletes, you know what they're doing now? They're hiring third-party companies to go through all of the athletes' social media accounts, which is just absolutely crazy, because I want to see what the type of athlete they have. When you were, on the panel for the USA men's team and the USA sevens team, selecting the teams to represent the country for rugby, was it a lot? Did you look past the ability of the athlete?
Yeah, the first thing we look at is, again, what's their character like? What's their heart like? In many ways, as I share kind of the theme with regards to Target Gold, is the first part's the heart of the champion. And if the heart's not quite right in the sense of the attributes that we want to see, then there's a trial period or a period of time where if we see growth and changes, then that's great. But if they don't align or they don't buy into those critical team values that we know unify a group, then they're very quickly gone. And I love it how you said with regards to Lindenwood or St. Mary's or Cal Berkeley here. Yeah, they're diving in now, and again, it's from a rugby setting, but across all sports, they're diving into the character background because they know how powerful it can be when you get a group of individuals to unite around a certain vision, but how divisive it can be at exactly the same time if the character traits don't align. And I think the Crusaders, from a rugby standpoint, are probably the best example of doing their background checks on individuals. And that's where I think, yes, the individual athlete, but a lot of these high schoolers going into university, parents understanding how to nurture and how to guide is critical, and understanding how to raise these champions that ultimately coaches like myself, no matter what sport they're playing, are actually looking for, because it takes a lot of time to develop it.
Yeah, 100%. I think you nailed it on the head. And I don't think athletes understand like especially with the digital footprint these days, you're under a microscope. You know, things are going to be seen, and there's countless stories that I can share where a college athlete, like I interviewed my mate, he's the assistant soccer coach at University of Akron, and publicly on a interview like this, he said to me he put an offer out to a student athlete, saw a tweet that the athlete made a few years ago and pulled the offer. And that's a top program. They produce so many MLS athletes. And, you know, with some behaviors off the field and away from the sport, you can cost yourself big time. And I think that's why I look up to guys like Shaquille O'Neal, for example, who, you know, they found their identity. I was watching an interview with Shaq, and he said that he wanted to be different. He wanted to make money outside basketball, outside the NBA. And his niche was that he's a funny guy. He wanted to do funny commercials. And that's how he made a lot of money. And then he used that to invest into other companies, and away he went. Everyone has got their niche and what they are and who they are as people. And I think having someone like you to help guide them along that is important. But I don't think these athletes should wait until they go to college, until it's too late. They need to start looking at this 15, 16 years old, right?
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time as a 15, 16, parents need to know what they should be seeing from their kids, what they should be putting or exposing their kids to. And really, I mean, the young adults, you know, you go back 100 years, at 15, 16 years old, you're out working, you're out taking responsibility for your own life. But, you know, it's in that time period where a lot of your character traits start to be cemented. And the earlier you get started, then again, especially if you know, look, when you hit, it's probably already, it's not too late, but you're putting yourself on a backwards trajectory. If these things are only happening when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, it's like, okay, what can I help myself become aware of initially, so that I understand, okay, I'm working towards achieving this, but off the pitch, which translates onto the pitch, this is what coaches are looking for. But it's not just understanding, okay, this is what coaches are looking for, great, because you can't control what coaches do and you know, blah blah blah. But it's understanding, okay, I'm a firm believer that based off my behaviour and based off who I am will be what I attract, what opportunities, who trusts me with what. And the earlier they can understand that and learn what some of those character traits are and those mindsets that actually unlock a new level versus limiting them, the better.
100%. And I think that, you know, what other athletes need to know is you never know who knows who in this game. So let's say, for example, there's a rugby player that goes to, he went to Lindenwood University and they're trying to trial for the USA team. And as a coach, obviously you're going to be calling coaches that know that player, right? And the athlete won't even know that these references are coming into play. And you don't want to get off on the wrong foot with bad recommendations and bad references, because that's going to cost you. And there's amount of stories that I could also share going into those situations where I know athletes here in New Zealand across a number of different sports that are very talented, like in the top 1% in their sport, but because their attitude, the way that they treat their mum, the way they treat their dad, and those sort of things off the field and off their sporting scene and away from their sporting scene, I should say, their behavior has impacted their national selection. And it's so common. It's more common than what people think. And I think being that all-rounded package athlete is so important. Being a good athlete is only one part of it, right?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Look, you developing as a person is all about you becoming who you were created to be and unlocking a lot of the gold that's inside of you. And in doing so, the attributes that you recognize, or the gifts and the talents and the skills that you develop over time, the leadership skills or qualities, they link into whether, you know, as you become a parent, as you step into the business world, as you, any sphere of influence, again, these are, that's what I love about sport. And I think rugby is a great game, but for especially sevens, for the ups and downs of life. But just sport in general, the skill sets and the character traits, the self-discipline, the self-control that you must have, let alone understanding how to honour teammates and leadership that maybe at times aren't, it isn't deemed that they're actually worth honouring. But understanding that who you honour or how you behave ultimately says a lot towards someone, says a lot more about you than it does actually the person, whether they deserve to be treated one way or not. And I think that's what I I love most about this program that I've created. Again, it's all about equipping you to be your best self, no matter what comes your way, no matter how people treat you, and just positions you to, again, at the end of the day, no matter what comes against you, that you can hold your head up high and know that you've put your best foot forward without any regrets. If you're aware of these character traits and mindsets, and that's the whole aim of it, is that if I can help more people, more high performers around the world understand what some of these key character and mindset traits are from a starting point, then they've got choices to make. And it's up to them whether they choose to become more of it. So
I guess Nick Kyrgios would have been a good client for you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, very talented athlete. Obviously, he's had top 10 wins against, his head-to-head against Nadal and Novak is better, than anyone else's. But again, just the way that the public see him as that person has kind of impacted him in a negative way in some aspects. And I know he walks around not caring about it, but what could have been with some endorsement deals and other opportunities for him could have been great, right?
Well, again, and it's not even just the endorsement deals, which you're 100% on point. I love that you brought up tennis. Federer and Djokovic. I mean, Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, they're special role models. Grace, and just, again, they're extremely competitive, but the way they honor each other and the grace that they just walk in is sensational. And it was just understanding, again, yeah, cool. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? That's great. But at the end of the day, when you're 60, 70 years old and you're looking back, what are your grandchildren going to say about you? Now, a 15, 16-year-old doesn't really care about hearing too much about that, but you plant the seed and they start to think, okay, maybe. But if you can get them thinking about, okay, when do you actually feel your best? Well, often it's not when they actually achieve that result. Yeah, the result's great, but then it's the impact they make on somebody else's life when somebody's in need. And if you can align the two of, hey, well, actually, if that's what makes you feel blooming good is when you actually help somebody else do something that they couldn't do, or be there in the time of need for somebody else. Imagine how many people you can do that for if you increase your platform, you increase your visualization, etc., through how successful you are and being positioned effectively from a brand standpoint. That's when that kind of optimal fulfillment that you're seeking, desiring, really comes through. And I think that's what you'll hear a lot of athletes talk a lot more about as they get older and older. And those who do it, they transition really effectively from sport when they are retiring or going into the new season. Is that's where, if they can pick that up earlier than later, then that's where they most of their memories come from. It's not necessarily winning that tournament; it's the overcoming of the trials to get there to win that tournament, but also the impact in the lives that they had along the way. And so, yeah, sorry, I'm blabbering a bit there.
I think this is important to talk about, because I don't think it's talked about enough. A lot of people just think that they need to be the best they can be at their sport, and away they go. And it takes you to one level, but it doesn't unlock any other doors for you, whether it's for yourself or it could be opportunities, through business or that sort of things as well. And, when I talk to college coaches, I would say 30% of the time we talk about them playing in their sport, and the 70% is their character, their work ethic, and do they take constructive criticism on board? All these different things they go through, because I want to see if they're coachable, can they be in a team environment? Because even individual sports like golf and tennis and swimming, for example, you're taking individual sports and you're putting them in the American college system as a team-based sport right away. And so they want to know, you're playing, that this athlete that we're signing is going to be representing not only the tennis team, but the whole university as well. They're playing for something bigger than themselves. And if athletes understand that at a younger age, it can open so many doors for them. So that's why I really wanted to get you on this chat. I know we spoke in the car about, what you've set up over in the US. And I just said I needed to get you on here just to chat about it, because I think it's really, really important and it's great for kids to hear. In regards to I know there's a few keen rugby athletes. They obviously know your credentials because we would have promoted this chat and told them that we're going to be chatting to you. It's not every day we get to talk to a USA Olympic coach for rugby. In terms of, the rugby scene in the US, obviously in New Zealand, we've got the Super Rugby here, and a lot of athletes stream to go to the Super Rugby. What have you seen growing in the US? Because I know we've got Scudder over there, former All Black, Wasaki Nahola over there. Ajit, my younger brother, was having lunch with Mahanonu in San Diego, and he said that, it's growing over there. So how's it going? What's the rugby landscape looking like?
Yeah, 8 years ago or 9 years ago when my wife and I came here, you talk to 2 out of 5 people and they wouldn't know what rugby is, Now it's very rare that I speak to somebody that doesn't know about it, because there's a professional competition here, and it's still in the infancy stages. It's 4 or 5 years in. But you are seeing a number of former All Blacks, Wallabies, Springboks over this way. But you're also seeing a big group of 19 to 22, 23-year-old, specifically South Africans at the moment. I haven't seen too many Kiwis coming this way, but the opportunity is there. Whether it's post ITM Cup, or whether it's actually getting exposure at another good level, another semi-professional, professional competition to catapult themselves in. I think what's cool is that there is a developed college league here, a Division 1, Division 2 rugby college league, where scholarships, especially on the women's side more than anything, are starting to really open up. And there are scholarships for the men's as well. But so there's a couple of levels that out of high school that can open the door, and you might not be the cream of the bunch per se when it comes to your absolute perfect rugby ability. But again, these colleges, there's opportunities out there for athletes that are good at rugby, but show the academics, show the character traits, show the leadership, like what they've been involved in during school, and volunteering in different ways, and that opens the door to a conversation that maybe you wouldn't have thought was possible. So whether it's the college league, etc., for those opportunities and for an amazing experience, or whether it's the MLR as a different stepping stone, rather than going to France or going to different parts, or Japan, or different parts of the world, the doors are open from a young age, and obviously for those that are looking for a bit of a retirement last couple of years. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you probably wouldn't want me to throw his name out there, but I will, because I think he's an exceptional young man. Orlando Casey is an athlete that we just placed recently at Devonport University. He's going to be joining the rugby team in August next year. And I think the national rankings came out recently, and they're like 6th in the country. And he played at Sacred Heart College, a high school up here in Auckland, and he was playing in the second 15, fantastic number 10. The coach there said to me, look, his highlight tape was good, but the way that he interviewed and all of his leadership qualities that he had in school were just absolutely outstanding. And he's just such a great young man. And look, as a recruitment company, I don't sign everyone. We've had some of the top athletes in their sport come and ask us for help, but we haven't, because the way that they are as people, I just couldn't represent them, because obviously it's my reputation on the line. And if I give an athlete to a coach and they cause a scene there, that coach isn't going to trust me again, which could affect other athletes coming on board with us. So we've got to be careful, right? And Orlando is just such an amazing young man. And we didn't bat an eyelid when I first met him for a coffee with him and his dad. His dad's actually a well-known rugby coach. That's Mike Casey, a forwards coach here. Yeah, and so he's been around the block. He's probably been in your circles, right? And he's just been absolutely fantastic to work with. And, the coach at Devonport can't be more excited to have him on board. And that's such a great feeling from our end.
Well, that's the thing, Amber, but you just highlighted it there. It's like you've gone out of your way. And when somebody comes into your presence where they add value, like, again, it doesn't matter if they're 16, 17, 18 years old, they uplift an environment. They bring something to the party. They add value. More often than not, you find people wanting to go out of their way to help them, which is what you've done in your role with the boy Casey. And that's I think that's the best example there. It's just like, again, if you become the person that people are attracted to, people want to help because of your character and how you see the world, that you're optimistic and that you're like, you know what, I'm going to make good things happen and I'm going to make a difference, then people will go out of their way to help you. But it's your choice. Nobody can do it for you.
100%. Absolutely. Look, if student athletes want to catch up with you and they want to contact you and see what sort of service you provide, how do they get in touch with you?
Cool. Just go to my website, coachchrisbrown.com. you'll see I'm actually running a webinar series next Monday through Friday. It's free. It's literally 45-minute sessions, and we'll run through character, mindset, vision, and process attributes. Okay, what it takes to become a champion. But just check out my website, and you can email me or WhatsApp me if you're not in America, or text me. My number's there, and I'd love to have a chat and see where you're at, and see how I can support you and chasing those dreams and becoming that person that you're created to be.
Awesome. And my team will put his website up here, and my team will also put Chris's contact information in the YouTube description. So if you're really keen to connect with them, go to YouTube, check it out, and the information will be there. Or if you still can't get in touch, just send me a message on Instagram, and I will share Chris's contact details with you guys directly. But Chris, it's so good to see you, man. It's great to see another Kiwi in the US.
Yeah, you too, mate. And tell your brother we need to connect, and tell your parents I say hello as well, please.
Oh, absolutely. My dad still won't stop talking about you. So I definitely will. He'll absolutely love it that we've connected on this chat. But yeah, thank you so much for it. Appreciate your time. And next time, I look forward to seeing you in the US.
Definitely. Cheers, brother.
Bye. Catch ya.